Hey, everybody that is joined in the chat. I'm here today with Indiana Backyard Gardener, and we're going to be talking about caring for specifically chickens and rabbits when they're babies. And so I'll let Indiana Backyard Gardener talk, and she'll also put her link in the chat so you guys can click on it and go subscribe, check out her content.
All right. So, hello, Pit Stop. My channel, you said to subscribe my channel?
Oh, yeah, your link. You could put your link in there and just tell us about your...
I can't put the link in the comments because I can't comment from here.
Okay, I'll do that while you talk to us about your channel.
Okay. Basically, as it pertains to the rabbits, I decided that I wanted to add rabbits to my channel because I do a lot of gardening and I like to keep it organic and as natural as possible. So when I was looking for ways to keep it that way, that's when I decided that I was going to do rabbits. So I do a lot of gardening. I do some cooking, some DIYs, and rabbits. Yep. Hello, Broke Farmer. Thank you for joining us.
What'd you say?
I said thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And for being one of the early ones. Thank you. I appreciate you. Do you want to talk about your rabbits, the ones that you have?
You're breaking up. What'd you say?
Do you want to talk about the rabbits that you currently have?
Okay. So I have 2 rabbits, and they are not, I'm trying to, sorry. There we go. All right. I was trying to catch up with the comments on my phone, but I had a different screen up. Okay. So the rabbits that I have are, one of them is a Harlequin red, and that's the buck. The buck is the boy. The doe is the girl. So girls are does and bucks are boys. And when I was researching to see what kind of rabbits I wanted, it didn't matter to me the breed of the rabbit because basically I just needed the rabbits for the manure.
Right.
So I did keep in mind, however, that eventually down the road I might want to breed them. So I figured I might as well look for a breeding pair. So when you're looking to get a pair that you, in the back of your mind, you know you're going to breed them, you want to make sure that you mention that you want a breeding pair and not like siblings or, you know what I mean, of a litter, because you don't want to breed siblings in a litter of rabbits. Hello, Country Homestead Preacher. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining. She was just talking about her rabbits.
The doe that I have is a broken. That's what they call her breed? It's a broken, and she's mixed with a Rex, and her fur is so soft. It's like a cotton. It's like a cloud. It's so soft. It's really dense. Whereas the buck, who is a Harlequin, his hair is longer and like a lot softer and like finer.
Right.
So it'll be interesting when they do eventually breed.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you had a close call there, but not yet. So yeah. I have chickens, and we've had them, I would say, about 3 different flocks. We usually go with the breed that's called, I'm not sure if it's ISA Browns or Easter Browns, but now we actually have some of the black sex links and the golden sex links now. So if that's all you want to say about that, then we'll go to the first topic.
Yeah. So with your chickens, are those like cold hardy? Is that like a cold hardy breed?
And they're actually hardy for the hot weather and the cold. And that's what we were looking for. Tractor Supply, when you go there, that's where I got mine. They give you, you know, the list of reasons kind of selling them, but you can find more information online first before you go in the store.
Right.
Right. So the first topic is where to purchase. So I'll let you talk about where you purchased yours from first.
So when I decided that I wanted to get into rabbits, it wasn't, first of all, I just wanted to mention that you want to make sure that you always research first. Always do your own research about anything that you want to add to your garden or anything that you want to add to your homestead, anything that you're going to bring in from outside. Make sure that you research what it is that it's going to take and how it is that it's going to, so that you have an idea of how it's going to unfold for you. So
Right.
when I first decided that I wanted rabbits, it was because I was researching the best organic fertilizer. And that's what I was researching. I wasn't in the market for rabbits per se, but when I was researching the best organic fertilizer, the rabbit manure is what came up as the best organic fertilizer because it's a
Right.
cooled manure and it can be added directly to the garden and it's higher in NPK than any of the other manures. So that intrigued me and
Right.
that got me looking more into rabbits. So
Right.
once I decided that I was going to go ahead and pursue the rabbit endeavor, I had to figure out where I was going to get these rabbits. So what I did was I went on a hello, free handling maid. Thank you for joining us. So when I went into my research about, like, well, what kind of rabbits do I want? What are going to be the best rabbits? What kind, there's so many breeds of rabbits. There's like 50 breeds of rabbits out there.
Right.
And I don't know which rabbit to start with or which rabbit should I start with or,
Have you heard of the New Zealand rabbits at Country Homestead pasture that he has? Can you see that comment?
New Zealand rabbits. Yes.
You ever heard of those?
Yes.
Okay.
New Zealand rabbits is a really good meat breed.
Right.
People that want to raise rabbits for meat and fertilizer, they usually go with a bigger rabbit. So, because you want you want the meat, so you want to go for like
Right.
a bigger breed. When I decided that I was going to find rabbits, I went local. So I looked on different Facebook pages local to me that were like rabbit breeders. They had, because they have their own pages, Indiana homesteading and, different things like that. And I was in a search for rabbits. So I was commenting and asking questions and, does anyone have any experience buying rabbits in Indiana local to my area? Can anyone recommend a good breeder? That kind of thing. So I got a lot of feedback and I went with a breeder that was probably about 45 minutes from me. And she was very knowledgeable. She knew, I could tell that she really cared about the rabbits and that she wasn't just like, she wasn't just breeding these rabbits and then selling them. She really cared about the rabbits. So when I went to pick the rabbits up, she made sure that she told me, this and that and the other, and I, all things that I had already researched, but I appreciated that she was concerned enough to share that information with me and to make sure that I knew that stuff about the rabbits. So
Right.
I went local and I don't regret it because the rabbits that I got, they're really, I'm really satisfied with them.
Right. So Broke Farmer, and you answered his question. He asked, were they just for fertilizer or food? And then Tree Homestead Pastor said, yes, that's what we raise them for, manure. And so yeah, you have those. So you have the choice of just for the manure as you raise your, or for the manure and the meat too.
Right.
Okay. And so I purchased chickens from Tractor Supply. There's hatchery online, and where you live, you can some local. What's that? Fellow homesteaders and gardeners. Hey, Sticky Puddle Ranch.
Hello, Stinky Puddle Ranch. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. And so you have the option to get them online, and they will ship them to your house. Live chicks. I've never gone that route just because I'm lower, and this last season, a lot of them died in transit, so that wasn't necessarily the best option for a lot of people. You can purchase them in Tractor Supply. You can just go in the store when they have chick days on their website. You can purchase them, but they have different ones than online. So if you purchase them, you can get a better variety. Were you going to say something?
I was going to ask, do they keep a good variety of them in Tractor Supply, or
It's go ahead.
or do you like it? Did you know what kind of breed you wanted, or you just went to Tractor Supply and you picked the best thing from what they had?
So I knew what I wanted, and then I got there and I wanted there. So it's always a hit or miss. Sometimes you go there and they may have ducks too, and they don't. Sometimes they may even never seen it, but they have it on the site, and sometimes they say that they do. Depends on basically you, and sometimes they have one breed, and sometimes they have maybe 3 or 4. So they usually have pullets with sex, and they're going to be females, which is male, female. You just take your pick, and so they have different colors and different things like that. But you never know until you go there. I usually call first to make sure they have it, because sometimes they're sold out too. It's great to be here. Thank you for welcoming you. Oh, okay. I always and got amazing birds. Oh, well, that's testimonial.
Hello, Art of Creation.
What hatchery did you purchase from that you would recommend for everybody? Okay, so then if we don't have any more questions on that one, we can go to the breeds. Okay. It's about your breeds, but say it again for the people who are here at that time.
So if you're, like I said, you have to first decide why you want to get rabbits. And if it is, in fact, for the meat, then you want to choose a meat breed. Just like you would for chicken, there are egg layers and there are meat birds, and then there are dual purpose. It's the same situation with rabbits. There are dual purpose rabbits. Well, I mean, every rabbit poops, so that's a given, you know what I mean? So when you really look for a meat rabbit, you want to get a specific body style of a rabbit, and you want them to get to a certain weight by the time they reach a certain age. So it's usually, I think, I want to say about 12 or 14 weeks. I could be wrong. I don't remember, because I don't butcher my rabbits. So I think it's about 12 or 14 weeks by the time they get to butchering age. So by that time, you want them to be somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds. And those breeds are going to be the Californians, the most common anyway, because there's a lot of breeds of rabbits. But the Californians are really popular. The New Zealands, as it was mentioned. The Champagne d'Argent, which is a breed that I am probably going to add when I expand my rabbitry. The Silver Fox, those are the 4 at the top of the list that I can think of that and that I'm familiar with as meat breeds for rabbits, because they get up to typically between 8 and 12 pounds at maturity. Yes, you have a farmer. Okay. Some rabbits have more of a. Rabbits don't have any fat. I can tell you that right now. When you're butchering rabbits for meat, they do not have any fat. They are totally lean. So when you're cooking rabbit, you have to make sure that you add a fat source, a good fat source. So you want to get a rabbit that's going to have a lot of meat on it, but they will not have a lot of fat. They are very, very lean and very high in protein.
Yeah.
They don't have a different taste per se, but they will have a different meat ratio.
I think I heard that you can't survive just from eating rabbit as your lone source of like meat or protein,
because they don't have any fat on them. So you can't you have to make sure that you supplement a healthy fat source when you're eating rabbit.
Want to add to that about chickens, not about different tastes, but when people are choosing the different birds for meat, they choose them based on like the feathers because the white feathers will give like a cleaner bird once it's defeathered and everything. So they keep that in mind as well. Um,
Yeah, and
only
that's one thing that why it's important to butcher the rabbit at a certain age is because once it gets too old, it will start to develop like fatter tissues and things like that, and the meat won't be as I guess you could say kind of like in the sense of when you have like a young deer or like an older deer, the younger meat is better. You know what I mean?
mhm. And with chickens too. Hey, Gigi's Naturals.
Hello, Gigi's Naturals. Thank you for joining us.
What's Country and Most Preacher said rabbits have the same texture as chicken. I've only had, I think, rabbit one time, like in stew, so I can't really to the taste of it. Did you have any more breeds that you wanted to mention?
Not as far as like, whether or not you want to get meat rabbits. Otherwise, if you're just doing it for manure, then really any rabbit is going to do the trick. Some rabbits are really, really big, and you have to consider what kind of space you're going to keep your rabbit in before you decide what kind of breed you want. Because some
Right.
rabbits will be really small and they say dwarf, they say state like a dwarf size. And then some rabbits are huge because they're giants. So there's like the giant Flemish, the Flemish giant, and then there's another giant breed, and I can't think of it up, but they get really big and they need a lot of space. So you have to
Right.
figure, how big your rabbit's going to get and how much space you're willing to provide for them.
Right. Okay, so with chickens, I'll talk about some breeds. I have this book. It's called The Backyard Homestead. I actually, let's see if you can see it. But I used this got any chickens, and it gave a good amount of information. So the egg breeds that they have in here is Leghorn. That one is popular. And Norca. And for meat breeds, they have the Cornish, which those, those they are 5 weeks away between pound and 1.5. So the quickest turnaround. And then there's the Orpington and Ashore. Those are the meat birds. And then they have dual purpose birds, which are New Hampshire, Plymouth Rock, Rhode Island Reds. Island Reds are two. And those are the dual purpose. So they don't lay the best, they don't lay the best, and they don't have the best. They don't produce as much, as other breeds. So they're just not really anything best, but they're good. And then they have endangered breeds, which is Champ and Dominique. And with those, it's always good. And I did this when they have to supply endangered breeds, because I just think that it's just good if you have the extra space just to, because they're injured, so it's just always nice to be able to help in that way.
Did you say that the Dominique is an endangered breed?
Yes.
Really? I didn't know that. I saw that in the Murray McMurray Hatcheries catalog that they offer those chickens.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I they're not really sought after, the breed hatcheries, but it's just a life. Okay. Anything to add on the?
As far as the breed, no, I don't think so.
Okay. So the next we could like the need. So we talk about the housing first. I know that you built your rabbit up. So if you want to talk to us about that.
Yeah, the housing, like I just touched on, you have to decide or take into account how big your rabbit's going to get when
Right.
you decide, your housing, because of course you want to have your housing set up beforehand. You know, you always want to be ready for your animals before they get there. You don't want to be scrambling at the last minute. So, cages to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbits, there are a few different options, and you have to decide, are you keeping them indoors? Are you going to keep them outdoors? Are you
Right.
going to have them, you know, in the hutch in the backyard? Are you going to put them in the basement or wherever? You know, all of that plays into consideration when you decide what type of housing you're going to put your rabbit in. So if your rabbits are very cold hardy animals, they prefer it colder than hot. They actually don't like it hot, so you have to make sure that you keep them really cool in the summer. But types of cages to consider are stackers, and those are the ones that come, you know, stacked 2 or 3 high, and they've got the pans that slide out, and you know, empty those, and that's where it collects their waste and whatnot. And they're mostly made of wire, and they usually come, you know, already, you order them or you buy them online, and there's really nothing else you really have to do except set it up. Hutches, like I have, are made with wood and wire, and you can buy hutches or you can make hutches, just like you can buy um, wire cages or you can make wire cages. And I'll talk about the wire in a minute. But stackers usually come 2 or 3 high. Hutches are made with wood and wire. And when you're making a hutch or buying a hutch, you have to consider that the rabbit is definitely going to chew on any wood that they have access to. So you have to make a mental note on what are you going to be willing to repair or replace, or if you're making your cages, make sure that you make them in a fashion that you'll be able to make repairs and replacements. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing a wire bottom and you're, you know, you're constructing it, and you know your wire is doesn't last forever. Okay, so there are some good wires out there, and there are some wires that you are definitely supposed to have, which is a 14 gauge galvanized afterweld wire for the bottom. The sides are not as important, but the rabbit's feet, because they are going to be on that wire, it's definitely important that you have the right kind of wire for the rabbit cage. So the galvanized after weld, which basically means when they're welding that wire, then after they've welded it, they dip it and they galvanize it. Now that's going to protect your rabbit's feet for one, and it's also going to keep the wire for a longer period of time because they urinate and their urine is really, really strong. So if you get cheap wire, your wire will rust out.
Oh, I was on for a second. Hello to.
You're breaking up. I'm not
Is,
hearing you.
can you hear me? I don't know if it's my connection or.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going until she comes back. So anyway, uh, 14 gauge is the size of the wire, the minimum size of the wire. There are higher gauges, and 14 gauge is about the comfortable point that you want to do your wire. There's higher gauges which are like 12 gauge, or you know, really heavy duty ones, but 14 gauge is usually good enough. 14, 16 would be good enough. And your bottoms, you want them to be about 1/2 inch by 1 inch, because that'll allow your manure to fall through the cage. You want there to be plenty of airflow in your cage. You don't want any um, risk of having any type of mites or flies or anything like that in your cages. So you want to make sure there's plenty of airflow in there. And um, I don't put bedding in the cages with the rabbits until it's winter time. Another option that you can choose for rabbits is colonies. You can choose to have them live in colonies where basically you have an area, kind of like a dog run or a chicken run, and you just have your rabbits out there just like that. But you have to make sure that you put wire on the bottom because rabbits will dig out. So
That sound, can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. You kind of break.
Because I hear like I'm not sure. Me, but we did have some comments. I did want to get to the comments.
Oh, there you go. I can hear you now.
Thank you. What's going on? So I bless everybody. To say hello to Dale. Thank you, Gigi. Can you see the comment?
The one that you have on the screen?
Oh, I just don't know or not. You can still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Then Gigi and so we had our 2 questions.
Okay, so for that question, do they smell bad for people who want to keep them inside a building? Okay, that's going to be something that you're going to have to consider if you want to keep them inside, because you will have to do a lot of cleaning in order for them not to smell. Okay, that means no bedding. That means you're going to have bedding, which is going to be pine shavings. The pine shavings absorb all of that odor and all of that urine and all of that waste. The manure is going to be pellet little balls, and it's not going to absorb that because those are dry. But as far as the urine and stuff, you can litter box train rabbits. You can definitely have like a litter box in the corner, just like a cat. You can litter box train a rabbit. So it doesn't have to be stinky, but you have to be able to manage that. Okay.
Right.
That'll be on you. And you have to decide whether or not you're willing to put in the time and effort to make sure that it's not. Otherwise, it can get stinky. Hello, Virginia Fruit Grower. Thank you for joining us. Have I looked into selling manure?
Sorry.
I have not looked into it yet, but I definitely have considered it. So right now I have 2 25-pound feed bags full of manure that I've collected over the summer, and I've been collecting throughout the winter. So I am definitely open to selling rabbit manure, and I just recently made a video on making bunny brew, which is basically like a compost tea. And you can put that manure in water and let it steep for about 3 days, or a week, depending on how you do it. And you can pour that and use that as a liquid fertilizer. And that's what I've been using to fertilize my seedlings.
Okay.
The last cage option I wanted to mention is a tractor. Okay. So just like you tractor chickens, you can tractor rabbits.
Okay. So I did want to mention our audience about the thing with the coop, with the wiring as option by some, and then there's video online, or you can look up different make your own. Something I will. Some people have and make it coop, so you always have to buy things, have old pieces of wood, pallets, or anything to kind of put it together. And of course, the tractor to have it on wheels. They do eat the grass and so fresh grass for them to have is another good option. And I wanted to go into space requirements for the chickens. So you want to have a certain amount of space in the coop, and then for them to scratch the outside. So I write down 2 3 square feet for the per bird, for multiply a square foot, and then you have 10 square feet in addition to the outside front. And so the setup that we have is basically it's like one of those kernels, bigger or however you pronounce it, and they have cool it, and then they and run and bring out there. And I also wanted to mention too, depending on your space, you can go or up for chickens to have you by itself. That's considered cruelty because they're flocking animals. You don't really have always like good suggestion have 3 or 4 birds. Someone to make sure you forget to that. That space they can have or wide spaces, but you just want to sure that they have their animals in the flock. You can know about the space requirements for a rabbit if you have it.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
All right. So the space that I have, the minimum space requirements for the rabbits, your bucks and your does are going to differ, especially if you're planning on breeding. If you're planning on breeding your does are going to need a cage with a lot more space because when she has her kits, she's going to have, you know, depending on your rabbit, she can have 8, sometimes more than sometimes more kits. So you want to make sure that the does have enough space. The recommended space for bucks is at least 25 by 30, which is basically a little over 4 square feet. And then for does, you want to do a 30 by 30 cage. And the height requirements is about 14 inches. Now, I went a little bit bigger with mine because I built it out of a crib. I built my rabbit hutch from a crib, a baby crib, and you guys can go back and see that video if you want. But I just repurposed an old crib that I had, and I made a rabbit hutch out of it. And it's very heavy and it's very sturdy. But now that I'm thinking about expanding the rabbit hutch, I'm thinking about a little bit of a different direction for their cages. And there is a website that offers really, really good supplies and options for cages, and you can either order hutches or stackers. You can order those things already made, or you can order the supplies to make them yourself. And it's called Klubertans. It's Klubertanz, and they are located in Wisconsin. So I'll put that Klubertans in the chat there. Klubertans. All right, they're really good for rabbit supplies as far as the right type of wire and different things that you'll need for the cages. And that was pretty much, anytime you have animals, you really just want to give them the best living environment that you can. So even though you are required to provide X amount of space, like it's always good to just, consider your animal and consider, how much space that you really want to be able to provide for them. If you can provide more space, then by all means, give them as much space as you can.
Can you tell me if you can hear me, Indiana?
It's really choppy.
Okay.
But I can hear you now.
To understand, if I talk slower, is it a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a lot better if you talk slower.
Okay. So I guess people know what I was talking about for the chicken requirements space. And I will say it again, and I'll say it slower. You guys, let me know if you so I can it. But for the requirement, point for the space requirements, you're saying you can't hear me?
Yeah, you're going back out again.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Yes. Is it okay? Can you hear me now, or just what I'm talking and let me know if you can hear me or not. You
I can hear you right now.
okay, you'll let me know if you can't hear me, right? Okay. Okay, so for the space for the chickens, thank you. Was looking for a source today. Oh, and nice to meet you. I didn't see you when you came in, etc. But for space for chickens, you need space for their coop and you need space for their run. So you need 2 to 3 feet coop. And you want an outside run they can have fresh to scratch on. You hear me?
Chopping up again.
Let me see if I can come back. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know what's going on with my connection. Let me see if I can do something to fix it. But if you want to talk about the bedding, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
If you want the bedding, I'll see if I can fix my connection.
Okay. So as far as bedding is concerned, that's going to depend on what kind of cage that you decide to go with. I do not use any bedding in the summer. I want everything to fall through the cage. I want everything to go through and be able to go through freely. I don't want any waste inside my cage. Um, as far as bedding is concerned, they don't need it. Now, I will put um, squares of like wood or pavers or something in there for them to rest on, as far as so they can just have a chance to get off of the wire or whatnot. But I don't put bedding per se, bedding in their cage. I do give them hay, but that's for feed and not for bedding. So I put it in a hay feeder. So I don't provide them any bedding per se. But now that it's winter, I have definitely bedded them down with hay, lots and lots of hay, and I'm doing something similar to what a lot of chicken owners keep, how they keep their chickens. And Art of Creation Homestead is one of those who keeps chickens with this type of method, and it's called a deep litter method. And basically, what you do for the winter is you let their bedding stay and you just keep putting fresh bedding on top of that. So the bedding underneath is composting and it's creating a small source of heat, just enough heat for them to be able to, manage to stay warm in the winter months. So I have been doing that deep litter method with them for the winter. But other than that, I don't use bedding and I don't, because I want to collect all of that manure. I want to collect it all and I want it to be free of anything but manure. So I don't use a lot of bedding. And especially because they're outside, I don't have to. Now, if you're going to keep them inside, then you can have a small litter box in the corner with straw or pine shavings. Usually is the choice. The choice of litter box bedding or whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, rabbits do not need any bedding.
Okay. It sounds like that they actually use pine shavings. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. You can use the pine shavings as well for the chickens. You can use straw for them as well. And I actually started using some of my shredded paper. You can use that as well in the coop. And I think it's just, a good idea. And I guess you could probably do that with shredded newspaper. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try one do information on the base. I don't know if you were caught up with.
Yes.
Okay. So for the chickens and just people in the chat, let me know if you can't hear me. But for the space for the chickens, you want space for their coop and you want space for their run. So you want it in addition. You have to, add it up and multiply it by chickens. So you need 2 to 3 feet for the coop, and then you want the outside run so they can get the fresh grass as often as and with the tractor is a good system for that. We have a lot of weeds and stuff, so I usually pick weeds and throw it in there because they don't have that opportunity to be mobile. But for the run, 8 to 10 square feet, all of it is square feet. And so this is per bird. And for chickens, you don't want to have one or two even because it's considered cruelty. They're flocking. So you want to have at least three. So their space can be narrow or, it can be wide. But you want to have, so it's about 13 square feet per bird. And so there are some breeds that also are better for confinement. Usually like the darker colored or brown colored chickens are usually a little bit better in confinement. But that is what you want. And if you don't have the optimal amount of space, then that's when it can come with different issues of them, picking on each other and things like that. So you want to make sure you have the right amount of space. The ink in the newspaper is really bad for the chickens. Pine shavings are the best. I'm not sure where you heard that the ink is bad, but just as you use it for composting, they're not actually eating the bedding. They're just pooping and peeing on it. So from the information that I got, it's just as you compost, I put everything that I would basically compost, I could put it in my chicken coop, but they're not going to eat it. Okay, so the next thing is food and water. So did you want to talk about the food and water needs?
Sure.
Okay.
So rabbits do not require a lot of, it doesn't, let me just put it this way, it doesn't cost you a lot to feed a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they can just survive on the pellets that you buy, depending on the protein. There's different, just like there is with chickens, there's different nutritional values in different foods. So the protein levels and different things like that are, they come into play depending on if you have breeders or if you have meat rabbits. And there's different, like your breeders are not going to be your meat rabbits, obviously, because you're going to have a set breeding flock for your, I guess flock is not a right word, but you get what I'm saying. You're going to have set rabbits for breeding, and then you're going to have set rabbits for meat, for growing them out for meat rabbits, which is basically their litters. But you can feed them differently if you choose to, and you want your meat rabbits to obviously gain more weight in a quicker period of time, whereas you don't want your breeders to get too fat, because if they get too fat, they won't breed. So basically they can survive on pellets alone. You want to give them a source of hay. I give them a source of hay because it's good for their nutritional value, but it also keeps, they always need something to chew on, because rabbits' teeth grow like your fingernails. So if you are not giving them something that's going to naturally file those teeth, then you're going to have to do that manually. You're going to have to check. You're going to have to keep on them and give them a monthly maintenance check and make sure that their teeth are not overgrowing. Their nails are not overgrowing. They need nails clipped. They need teeth filed. If you're not going to supplement different things that are going to do that naturally, which is why I keep wood planks inside their cages and hutches, so that they chew on that wood, and then they actually file their own teeth down, and I don't have to do it.
Wow. Okay.
They like to dig. They really like to dig. So sometimes I will put different cardboard things in their cages so that they have something to dig, and then that also helps their nails stay filed down. Do I feed the rabbits alfalfa, and is that good for them? Alfalfa is only good for young rabbits. Once your rabbits are adults, they should not be on alfalfa. It's not any good for them anymore. But as young rabbits, yes, they can have alfalfa. But I don't feed them alfalfa. I only feed them a grass hay mixture. And the second cut of hay is usually the best. Timothy hay is the best hay, hands down. But Timothy hay is expensive. And I'm
Okay.
not going to go to a pet store or a supply store and buy a very small container of Timothy hay for $5 when I can go to my local farmer and I can get a big square bale of grass hay for $5. So
Hmm.
that's what I did when I got the rabbits and I knew I was getting them. I got 3 square bales of grass hay. I made sure it was the second cutting because the second cutting is the best cutting. And then I just stocked that in my shed. And that was when I first got them back in August. When did I get them? August. I got them in August. So I got 3 square bales of hay in August, and I'm just now on my second bale of hay
Oh wow.
to them.
I want
So
to mention something real quick. Art of creation. I was really conscious about the cardboard and stuff that I would use in the garden. I didn't want to use any with ink, but it wasn't until recently that I learned that they use a lot of food grade inks and the dye, and so it's actually not a big issue to use them with the chickens, and so that's why I feel comfortable with that. Um, this is excellent information. Yeah, I didn't know that, especially about the rabbit's teeth. I wanted to ask, is there like a requirement on how many rabbits you should have? Is it you want to have at least two or is one fine too?
if you are going to plan to breed rabbits, then we'll talk about that when we talk about the breeding.
Okay.
But as far as the feed, I'm gonna just really quick say that you can supplement feed for your rabbits if you put them out on grass, or if you supply them with garden waste. They can have lots of different. Basically, you want to think to yourself, if my rabbit was in the wild, what would they have access to? And that would be what they can eat. So contrary to what cartoons show you, rabbits are not supposed to have a lot of carrots. Carrots are really high in sugar, and if you give them a carrot as a treat, that's fine, but once in a while. But the carrot tops, the greens, now
Mhm.
that they can have. They can have as much of that as you want to give them. But as far as the carrot is concerned, a rabbit is not going to have access to the actual carrot, but they will eat the greens. So if you want to give them a carrot every now and then, that's fine. But definitely keep in mind what a wild rabbit would have access to in the wild. And that's basically everything above the ground.
Mhm. Is there
Now,
a certain amount that they eat of feed that you would do you know the certain amount of feed? Because like chickens eat half a cup, and so you just portion it out by that much that you need.
yeah, usually between about 4 to 6 ounces of
Okay.
pellets a day, and that's for a mature rabbit. Now, when you have young rabbits, you can feed them as much as you want. Up, once they get up to that mature age, then you can start scaling back. Also, when rabbits are very young, they don't eat grass or anything green until they have been weaned from their mother
Hmm.
and are eating solid food. Then you can gradually introduce things like grass and greens and leafy things to them, but only on a gradual basis because it will upset their stomach. So, and then water is key. Rabbits drink a lot of water, so you always have to make sure that they have plenty of water.
And a question too, with chickens, they there's certain feed that you get for chicks called chick grower or chick starter, and then you move them onto the layer pellets.
Mhm.
Is it similar? You were talking about the levels of protein are different.
No,
Okay.
when rabbits are babies, they only drink their mother's milk. They don't eat anything solid until after about 2 weeks or so, when
Hmm.
they start to come out of the nesting box. The first 2 weeks of life, they're not going to be coming out of the nesting box. They're going to be in the nesting box, and the mother is going to be able to come in and out of the nesting box as she needs. But they will not be coming out and eating anything until after the first 2 weeks of life. And then even then, they're going to be on pellets because that's what your mama rabbit is going to be eating. She's going to be eating pellets. So that's what the babies are going to start eating is pellets. Now, when you're feeding your mama rabbit greens and stuff, you have to be mindful that the babies are in there too, and that they shouldn't have a lot. So sometimes you might want to put the greens up high where the mom can get to them, but the babies can't. And only give them so much just to introduce it gradually, kind of weaning them off of mom's milk and onto like green pasture type of thing. But as far as the pellets is concerned, there's no difference.
And I have another question that somebody might be interested in. If a person was just to get one rabbit, would that, do you think that would be enough to, or how many rabbits do you think a person would need for just like a 4x4 section garden even? Do you think that that would be enough throughout the year just to add to different plants, or do you need more, you would say?
A regular, like an average sized rabbit can give you anywhere from half a pound to a pound of manure a day.
A day.
A
Wow.
day, yes.
Okay.
So the more rabbits you have, the more manure you have.
Hmm.
So, like a doe and her litter can provide you with over a ton of manure in a year.
Okay. So you talked
If you have
about
a
food and
if
water,
you
huh?
have a giant if you have a giant breed like a Flemish giant, they can give you 3 pounds a day.
Wow. Okay. And how do you store it, or do you use it all immediately each time
No, I
you
keep it
store
in.
it?
You have feed bags that you buy your feed in.
Hmm.
I save all the feed bags and I put the manure in the feed bags and I store it in the feed bags, but I leave it outside right like near the hutch so that it's easy for me to scoop it from the hutch and put it right into the bag.
Okay. And then with the feed, is there any do you just buy feed from a store, or do you make your own? And would
Yep,
you
I just buy
recommend
it
someone
from the
making
store.
their own?
I just buy it from the store. I buy a 25-pound bag of pellets for $10.
Oh, okay.
And 25-pound bag of pellets is going to last a very long time when you're only feeding half a cup a day.
Great. Okay. Okay. And then we can talk about, unless anybody has any questions while she's talking about the food or the manure. Um, and do you know how long do you usually keep it? Or what do you think the longest is that you could keep it?
The manure,
Hmm.
as long as possible, as long as you want.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not it's dry. It's not a wet manure. It's not stinky. It just you can keep it as
Mhm.
long as you need it.
And you just sprinkle it like how you would do like the little granular feeds? Do you sprinkle
Yep.
it like that? Okay.
You can mulch with it. You can till it in. You can supercharge your compost pile with it. You can make compost tea with it.
Okay.
You can make it into a liquid.
Right. Okay. And you talked about before in our other live, but if you want to talk a little bit about why you talked about how it has higher levels of the NPK, but I remember you had a little bit more information if you want to share it about the manure.
Yeah, it's nutrient rich. The benefits of the manure is it's high in nutrients. You can use it fresh because it's a cold manure. It
Right.
doesn't have to be composted. You don't have to wait to compost it before you can use it. You can take it straight from the hutch and put it right in the garden if that's what you want to do. You can make it into a liquid fertilizer or you can supercharge your compost with it. It's easy to work with because it's dry and it's in like little balls. They're very very little balls, probably the size of peas, maybe
Mhm.
just a tiny bit bigger, but maybe like a chickpea size. Um, and it's very versatile. It's very versatile. So it's 4 times it's 4 times higher in nutrients than cow manure and horse manure, and it's 2 times more in nutrients than chicken manure.
Mhm.
It's got higher levels of nitrogen and higher levels of phosphorus than any other manure. And those are really important to your plants as far as growing. Phosphorus is very important to plants because
Right. Right.
it helps the plants fruit. That's what you need for, fruiting. That's why we use bone meal is, because it's high in phosphorus. But rabbit manure is also very high in phosphorus.
Oh, hey, Stacy. I'm glad you could join us. You have another question too, Indiana. She says, "What predators do you have to protect them from?"
Every predator. Rabbits are at the bottom of the food chain. Okay. Every predator is a predator of a rabbit. And if you think that rabbits are those cuddly, cute, you know,
Like you said, the cartoons, the caricatures
yeah,
that they have.
it is not, that is not the way. Rabbits are scared because they are prey animals, because they are at the bottom of the food chain. They are scared of everything. And that it's important when you have baby rabbits to make sure that you handle them a lot so that they get used to that, because they will not. I'm telling you, rabbits will cut you up with them claws. They got some claws on them, and I have Kevlar sleeves that I wear when I first got them because I had to learn the hard way. I was trying to pick them up and they were kicking and bucking, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, what? Why is it doing that? Rabbits are scared, and they are predator. You got to protect them from
Can
dogs.
you? Okay, yeah, name some.
Dogs will eat rabbits. Okay, hawks, foxes, anything.
Yeah,
Rabbits
that's the
are at the
same with
bottom of
chickens.
the
Chickens are very much vulnerable to a lot of things. Yeah, we have the hawks, falcons, that we have to worry about, raccoons,
Yep.
even like you said, dogs or even cats, squirrels could even, if they wanted to. They're very fragile animals. And like
That's
you said,
why
I
it's
do
important.
recommend, yeah, and I do recommend people get the chicks, instead of just getting a chicken, to get a chick so that they can be more comfortable with you. There are certain breeds that are more friendly, and
Right.
that's what I was researching. Some are more friendly with children. That's the breed that I got. They follow children around, and some are more skittish, and so
And it's
that's
the
the whole
same with
thing with them as
rabbits.
well.
There are some breeds that are a little bit more, I guess you could say, friendly. Some breeds are a little bit more, they're easier to domesticate, like the Champagne d'Argent, I heard, is a really good rabbit breed, and that's why I'm thinking of getting some of those. But that's why it's important when you're getting your cages to make sure that they are very secure. Because a raccoon, if you don't have the right kind of wire on your cages, a raccoon can come and rip that wire right off, or a dog can go right through it.
Hmm.
And, if they really want to get to those rabbits, they will. I didn't have any issues last year with any predators for my rabbits. And
And also even rats. Rats can be another big one. And so that's why, you want to make sure that it is, like you said, secure, and the holes as well in the wiring. And we had an issue too, because I don't recommend you get any of those like what we have, where they come with the wires, because it is not going to be secure enough. And so we had to redo the whole thing. You have to really get some heavy duty. And we actually did double layers of it to make sure, because the raccoons, they'll be there and they'll come every day and loosen it a little bit. So you have to
they're
be
really
really,
smart. They're really smart.
yes, and they are persistent,
Hmm.
and not even just the roof and everything. They will try to get in any way they can.
Yeah, and that was another reason why, if you have rabbits, to try to keep them off the ground.
Hmm.
You want to try to keep them at least 2 to 3 feet off the ground. That way, any predators that are down low can't get to them.
Right. And that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to keep our rooster, just because they can be a little bit better. They can just help with alerting the animals, and they may try to fight, even though they're not really even, the strongest either. And ours, he runs away. He's worse than the hen. So
Ah, he's like, I ain't signed up for this. I didn't sign up for this.
she says chicken wires has grades. Well, you always get what you pay for, but what I was talking about is more of just the size of the holes. You want to just make sure that it's not going to be too big so that other predators can get in.
Yeah, and you
And
can't use
also, if you
chicken
have it
wires.
outside, you want to make sure that it's not something that they can get under too. What were we saying?
You can't use chicken wire for rabbits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because rabbits, the chicken wire is so such a thin grade of wire,
Oh,
a
okay.
rabbit will snap that wire because its teeth are just that strong.
Oh, okay. Right, right.
So you can't use chicken wire for rabbits. You can double it up, like you can use it as like an enforcement around, like maybe a second
Mhm.
layer or something like that. But or maybe even under the ground. But I always use the hardware cloth on spaces that they're not stepping on.
Mhm.
The hardware cloth so that it's a lot stronger than the chicken wire.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. Okay. So if anybody had any more questions, and how many people, I'm curious, how many people actually have some rabbits or chickens that are in here? I saw Stinky Puddle Ranch said it's always great to learn from others and what they do different from you when you raise the same animals. So I think that's a really good comment. And if you have anything that you want to share too, I really enjoyed some of the other people that were sharing some tips about the rabbits and the chickens. Growing
Hello, Maya
on,
Family.
yes, nice to see you.
Thanks
Okay.
for joining us.
Okay, and so now we can talk about the breeding, but not really the breeding, but some of the signs to look out for. Well, I guess if you have information on breeding, you can share that. But some of the signs to look out for, with the pregnancy, I thought that that would be something that's good to share.
So the age that you want to breed your doe is about 4 months. You don't want to breed anything before that. So you want to breed at 4 months. It's a little bit later for bucks because they mature a little bit later. You know how it is with men; they always mature later than women. So anyway, yeah. Um, so about 4 months is a good age. Anywhere between 16 and 18 weeks is a good age for a doe to breed. Um, Sometimes if you wait longer, it could affect the litter size of the doe if it's her first time. So, but I wasn't really, I have not bred mine yet, and I wasn't concerned with that because I didn't get them for breeding purposes. I got them for the manure. So when I do decide to breed them, I'm really not concerned with the size of the litter. Um, then let's see. Oh, when you're breeding your rabbits, you always want to take your female and put it in with the male. Don't do it the other way around. Don't take him to her cage, but take her to his cage.
Hmm.
And one reason for that is because he won't be distracted. You want him to handle his business as quickly as possible so you can put her back in her cage. So if you put him in her cage, he's going to be sniffing around and he's going to be curious, and it's a new atmosphere, and it might take him a while to get to handle his business. But if you put her in his cage, he knows what he wants to do and he's going to do it. So 3 things to look out for when you are breeding your rabbits. Oh, and another thing, if you put him in with her, female rabbits are really territorial when it comes to their space, and she could castrate him. She could really hurt him. Predators will stick their arm underneath and grab them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why it's kind of good to have. Yes, Gigi. That's what I'm saying. And that's why it says breeding when you hear that term breeding like rabbits, it really is just like that. Like he gets on her he gets on her
Can you guys hear her? For me, it went out. Are you still there? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh,
It says you
it
got
got
muted.
muted. I don't know why it was muted. Can you
Oh,
hear me
okay.
now?
Yes.
I don't know why it did that. Yeah. So Stacy Smith, that was a good point. Predators will stick their arm underneath and grab them. I wanted to point out that I put things in my rabbits' cages for them to be able to get up off the wire, like at a second level almost. So I kind of put like crates or like things that they can climb on, just so that they're not stuck at that bottom level with the on there. Um,
Can you repeat what you said to Gigi too? Because that's the part where it cut off.
yes, when a buck is mounting a doe, it's like 1, 2, 3, okay, and then he falls off. He literally falls off, and that's how you know it is a successful breed. But you want to make sure you get at least 3 fall offs, is what they're called. So
Mhm.
he'll do that. He'll do that back to back twice. He'll do it. He'll take care of his business, and then he'll fall off. That third time sometimes takes a little while. So as long as you see that he's done it twice, then you can leave for about an hour and let nature take its course, and then put her back in her cage. But it happens really quickly, and the gestation period for the rabbit is 31 days. So within it, after a month, you're going to have a litter. It's just that quick. So on the 28th day, you want to put her a nesting box in there and give her some material to nest with if you don't already have anything in there for her to use. And she will begin to make a nest. But then what she'll also do is pull fur from her chest. And what that does is that insulates her nest, but it also opens up the way for them to be able to nurse. She's clearing the way, taking that extra fur off of her, teats are what they're called. She takes that extra fur off, and then they are able to nurse. So when you see the rabbit doing that, you know that the time is very near. Some rabbits do it quicker than others, and some won't do it till right before they give birth. So you usually have to wait at least a couple days after, like if your doe is running late, like if it's been 31 days and she's not pulling fur and she's not showing any signs, give it a couple extra days, and then if not, then you can take the nesting box out, and it was not a successful breed.
I have a question. You said that the females are really. Do you hear that echo? I don't know if that's on your end or mine.
No, I don't hear an echo.
Okay. You said that the females are territorial. So I want to know, can you put two females together in the same area if it's a bigger area, or two males in the same area?
If they grow there together, like if they're
Hmm.
if they're used to each other, I wouldn't introduce like a new rabbit with an existing rabbit, because they will fight. But if they're raised together, then they can live together. But two bucks cannot.
Okay.
Two
So, okay.
bucks cannot. They will fight.
Okay. Um, I also wanted to ask about the life expectancy of rabbits.
So a rabbit usually lives about anywhere from 8 to 12 years.
Oh, wow.
On average, about on an average lifespan for a rabbit is 10 years.
10 years? It went muted again. Is it muted? Because I can't hear you. No, not yet. Did it mute again? You're muted now.
How about
You're
now?
that's good. Okay.
StreamYard keeps muting it on its own.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. But
I guess StreamYard doesn't want me to talk.
okay. What I was going to say about the chickens, one thing I found out after we had gotten the chickens that we do is that their life expectancy is only about 2 years. And the
Really?
typical chicken is about like 5 years, but it can be more. It depends on the care that you give them and the environment and all of that as factors. But we're only looking at, they said, about 2 years. And it's because they lay these extra large eggs. And because they lay so many during the year, they don't really get to have a break. They're also at risk for like intestinal issues and everything like that, because it's a lot of hard work on their bodies to push out that egg every day. So that's something to consider too. Um, the dual purpose birds will live longer, but that's not to say it's going to die immediately at that time. It always,
Right.
depends. But that's something to consider, because then if you are trying to breed another flock, you have to remember to always be in adding new chicks to the flock in that time frame.
Wow. I've seen a lot of people that have their chickens for a long time. It's just a certain breed that they can have for a long time like that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it depends on the size of the egg because the ones that we have are extra large eggs. So some do large, some do medium. One of the chickens that we got that was endangered, they laid like small little eggs. And so that's probably why people don't want them. They just want the great egg layers. And so the type that we've had, and that's our favorite, is the Easter Browns. They lay the extra large brown eggs, and they're real friendly and everything. They like children. They'll follow you around. They often irritate me sometimes when they used to be free range because they would always be around you like a like a child, or like a dog follows you around. They'll follow you that way. They're they're friendly and everything like that. And their laying is really reliable. Even when we were down to 1 degree and it felt like -6 degrees, they were still laying. And so that's something good. But of course, that's hard on their body. And even during the winter, we don't have stops in their laying production. So I really do like them. But of
Do
course,
your
it's
eggs freeze?
not. Hmm?
Do your eggs freeze?
Do eggs? Oh, that happened one time where some was cracked. During that time, they were cracked. Yeah. But it's still fine to use it. But yeah, that did happen. We had pots that cracked. We had a whole bunch of things that cracked when it was that cold.
Oh yeah, when it got
Did it
that
get that cold in Indiana this
it did. Yeah, it did get really cold. I brought the rabbits into the sunroom.
okay. Oh, well, that's so nice of you.
Well, it wasn't actually for them. It was more for me because I didn't want to trudge through 3 feet of snow
Oh,
to
right,
get
right.
out there and keep checking on them. I wanted them to be closer to me where I didn't have to, be all out in the snow trying to check on them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I wanted them right near where I could keep an eye on them and check on them frequently.
Right. And we don't have a heated waterer, so I was going out there, and anytime I bought something out there, I knew it was going to be frozen solid and I'd have to bring something new every day. And what was I gonna say about that? Oh, but the chickens, they are really cold hardy. And so one of mine was actually, when it was snowing, it got on the roof, just sat and went to sleep. And I was so worried about it because I'm like, it's gonna freeze to death. That's when it was 1 degree outside.
Oh
But
my
they
goodness.
prefer, I don't know why, they prefer to sleep on the roof of the coop and just sleeping, and the snow was piling up on top of it. And I was just so
What?
shocked. But it was mad. I put it in the house and it was mad at me. So yeah, they're really cold hardy. You have a question,
Yeah, like you better go in the house.
right? It was upset with
Put your
me,
butt in the house.
right?
Sources of rabbits.
Right.
You can find rabbits. I found my rabbits locally because I went into a few Facebook groups that the main focus was rabbits. And I was asking around and I was questioning and getting some feedback on some local breeders. I just was kind of asking around in like an Indiana homesteading group or Indiana, I can't even remember what the groups are called now, but I was just kind of poking around like, does anyone have any information on some breeding, rabbit breeders local to this area? Can anyone recommend a breeder? And I got quite a few responses on a specific breeder, so I decided to contact that breeder. But you can also look at like farm feed stores where they have like bulletin boards and things like that, and people will post different things about selling rabbits or whatnot, because people keep rabbits for all different kinds of reasons. Some people breed rabbits for feed. Some people make dog food out of rabbits. Some people buy rabbits, very small, like baby rabbits, to feed to snakes. Like if you're a snake owner, if you have a pet snake and you have to feed your pet snake a food source every so often, there are rabbits are that one of those options. So sometimes snake owners will feed their snakes rabbits. Dog food can be made from rabbits. So there are many different reasons why people buy rabbits.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not just meat or manure, but it could be as feed. for other animals.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different bulletin boards you can look at. There are Facebook groups. I try to stay local because I want to make sure that my rabbits will be acclimated to my local weather. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to have rabbits from far away where it would be a different like climate.
You mentioned also that you had some YouTube channels that you looked at
Yes.
about the rabbits. You want to share those?
When I was researching whether or not I wanted to get rabbits, because what sparked me to even look for rabbits was the fact that I wanted organic manure. I mean, organic fertilizer. So once I researched what is the best organic fertilizer, then that led me to rabbit manure. So once I was led to rabbit manure and I read all that I could read about rabbit manure, I was intrigued. So I was like, well, let me take a look and see what it takes to keep rabbits. So of course I went on YouTube to find some channels that keep rabbits. The One of the channels is called Wonderland Acres, and I'll put it in the chat. Wonderland Acres, and her name is Kate, and she breeds rabbits,
Okay.
and she is in Iowa. She has an excellent channel, and she gives you lots of information about the rabbits and how to keep them and what to do for them and things like that, how to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Another channel that I looked at was called Living Traditions Homestead.
You're gonna write it, or I can write it for you if it's hard for you to talk and write.
Living Traditions Homestead is another one.
Okay.
And they have Wonderland Acres keeps her rabbits in wire cages that she got from the Klubertans. Living Traditions does tractor rabbits, so you can see the different methods of the way that they keep the rabbits. Living Traditions is in Missouri, and they tractor their rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Canada, there is Hickory Croft Farm, and they keep the Champagne d'Argent rabbits. Those are the top three channels that I would recommend that you visit if you are interested in learning more about how to keep rabbits, because those are the three channels that I was able to gain the most knowledge from before deciding to purchase my rabbits.
So what did you say about the champagne rabbits?
The
Something.
Champagne d'Argent is a breed that is it's an ideal meat breed,
Okay.
but also a breed that I researched was good with like handling, their temperament and things like that. They're good for they don't spaz out on you as much when you handle them. So I wanted a more tame, relaxed breed of rabbit that's not going to be so scared all the time. And the Hickory Croft Farm, they have two children, and they handle the rabbits frequently. And I figured, well, if the children can handle the rabbits, then I'm sure that I can handle the rabbits.
Okay.
So, and I also know that Champagne d'Argent are a good meat rabbit as well. So if I was going to get into breeding rabbits, I wanted it to be um, kind of a dual purpose breed, and a breed that would be like sought out. You know what I mean? Somebody that I'm going to be able to sell.
Okay. Okay. And I wanted to ask, because for me, for chickens, it doesn't take very long. It's just, daily maintenance every day of going out there. And we have the automatic feeder now. So all I do is give them fresh water and I take the eggs, and that's pretty much it. Because they have a good amount of space out there. We do the chicken coop, we clean it out, after like 3 months or something like that. It doesn't take much time to handle them. I want to know about how long it takes you daily to check on your rabbits. I remember that Diva Jones was pointing out that you be talking to your rabbits and petting them and all that, but just the time or how much it takes you for the water and all the daily maintenance. How long would you say that is?
It takes no time at all to service them, I guess you could call it. When I go out in the morning, I talk to them, I say good morning, and I make sure that because I cover their cages at night still. And when I go out there, I don't want to startle them. So when I go out there, I make sure that they know that it's me, that they hear my voice, and that they're not startled. So then I uncover their cages, and they're usually right at the door, like greeting me, like you know, they're so they have learned, that I am the caretaker, and it doesn't take any time really. I empty the water that they've got, because sometimes the way that I have it now, the water is at the level where they are. So I kind of got it burrowed into their hay that I have in their cage, and it's like right at their foot level. So a lot of times it'll be hay in the water or what have you. So I'll dump out the water and then give them fresh water. And of course, their feed is usually gone by that, because rabbits eat like often. They eat at nighttime, usually like early morning hours is when they usually eat. So their feed will be gone. So I'll make sure I give them fresh feed. And sometimes in the morning, I bring them treats like, radish tops, or if I've got herbs in the house that, say I have a bunch of cilantro and, we didn't use it all, and I know that I'm not going to use it again soon, I will give it to the rabbits. They love herbs. So I would say, aside from all the talking and petting that I do,
which is probably about an hour.
yeah, 10 minutes it takes to give them fresh water and fresh food. Because right now I'm doing the deep litter method, so I'm not really cleaning their cage. I'm just piling more hay on top of the other hay.
Right. What you said about how they get the hay in the water, that's the main. Chicken or chicks take more maintenance because they get so much of the pine shavings in the water. And so
Yeah.
I have to change it out frequently. And also with the food too, because they scatter around a lot and everything like that. So they do take the chicks. And do you find that when they're babies that you really do have to check on them more so, or it takes longer?
Well, I got mine when they were 8 weeks old. So
Hmm.
they were already weaned from the mom, and they were not on grass yet, but they were already weaned from the mom. And I did not have to check on them too often. No,
Okay.
that
With
they were fine.
chicks, with the chicks that you can get from Tractor Supply, they usually estimate that they're about 2 weeks old. And so I do have to change it a lot. You can try to elevate the water, like you were saying. I could do it with like a piece of wood and everything, but they're still going to get things in the water. And sometimes they'll sit on the water, all kinds of things, and so you
Yeah.
need to change it. Now, when you first get them, they're really squeamish and everything, but depending on the breed, sometimes, and it just takes time, but it's too quick this time. They're all like you say, when your rabbits see you, they're right there. That's how the chicks are. That's how the chickens are. And I kind of miss when they're a little bit scared. It's easier to get out of there, but when you have them all over you. But yeah, chickens do take a lot. What you said about them eating at night, I want to mention about chickens. We used to free range them, and they'll automatically, when it's getting darker, the sun's going down, because they don't have very good vision, so they know to go in the coop. And so we just pretty much left it, and I don't know how we survived before without the predator issues. And they would just go in and go out as they wish. So they actually do go in at night, and the chicks actually sleep a lot during the day. And
Yeah.
so that's a little different. So
Yeah.
let's see.
In the summertime, I like to give them frozen water bottles to keep them cool, because rabbits don't like the temperatures to be
Right.
higher than like 80 degrees.
Hmm.
If it's higher than 80 degrees, the males will go sterile, and you
Oh
won't,
wow.
yeah, you won't be able to breed them during the really hot months of the summer. Fall is probably the best time to get rabbits, because they probably have just bred after a hot summer, and your breeders are trying to get rid of their stock. So fall is probably the best time to get rabbits, because they'll be the most comfortable, and they'll be at the best price.
Are there any breeds that are a little bit more heat tolerant, like maybe has a little less thick fur or anything like that that you know of?
Now, rabbits, for the most part, are all cold hardy rabbits. They don't like heat.
Oh yeah, no rabbits in the desert,
Yeah,
Tina.
unless,
They don't
well,
like it.
I've seen some people keep some rabbits in some hot weather, but they
Mhm,
usually have lots of fans on them, and they keep them cool like that. They
Hmm.
keep fans blowing, and they also give them plenty of cold like treats, like
Hmm.
ice cubes, and they freeze, the waters and water bottles and put frozen water bottles out there, and they'll lay up against a frozen water bottle just to keep cool.
Okay. What was I going to ask? Oh, are there anything that you would mention about like any diseases or any weird things that are signs for something with when it comes to dealing with rabbits?
Yeah, there are parasites that you have to watch out for with rabbits. And that's why it's really important to keep good airflow in your cages, because a rabbit can get parasites.
Hmm.
And there's like different. You have to check their eyes to make sure that their eyes are healthy, because there'll be they can get parasites in their eyes. Um, you have to make sure that you're keeping an eye on their manure, that it's not like, how should I say, like clumpy, I guess you could call it. Um, if your rabbit's urine is white, like a creamy white color, then it's usually a sign that they have too much calcium.
Okay.
So yeah, there's different things that you do have to watch out for when you're taking care of rabbits.
Okay. What was I gonna? I was gonna ask something about what you said. What you just say? Oh, I know that some people that own chickens like to put like apple cider vinegar in their water to just help them, for immune support. You can do the same with rabbits.
Yes, I
Okay.
think with my dog apple cider vinegar.
Okay. And you also mentioned that they like herbs. My chickens don't really seem to care for my herbs as much, but I guess that's another thing that can help their immune system. Are you still there? It's a little frozen.
Yes.
Oh, okay. There you are. Okay.
Yep. They do like herbs. They
Okay.
like mint. They love mint.
Okay.
They
I
like cilantro.
I did like to add some herbs to the coop as well to keep away, because it can get kind of stinky in there. For with chickens, their poop is actually a mixture of the actual poop and the urine. They don't just urine or whatever, so it's always like very wet and they poop a lot. And so the herbs can help just to keep it fresher, to keep flies or anything like that away.
Kick the container over every time.
Oh,
Naughty dog.
apple cider vinegar in it. Yeah, but I do think that it's good to use natural remedies to be able to,
I don't put a
aid
lot.
the immune
I
system.
probably put like a capful, just the cap. Just I use
Oh, so
the
you do currently do it?
yeah. Oh well, yeah, all the
Okay.
time. Yep.
I know also at Tractor Supply they have little packages that are like $1 or less, and you can add different things to their water and everything. But I prefer to use something natural instead of using something like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay, so how much did it cost you to purchase your rabbits? And you said you purchased it locally. So
Yeah,
do you know about the going range that you would spend to
it
start?
depends on the breed.
Okay.
It depends on the breed. Some breeds are going to cost more than others, depending on what type of breed they are and what the demand is for that breed. But my rabbits, I did not. I wasn't looking for a specific breed. I wasn't looking for any show rabbits. I wasn't looking for any type of purebred anything. I just needed two rabbits that can produce me some poop. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter to me what kind of rabbits they were.
Right.
So I got my rabbits, um, and it was important to me that I asked for a breeding pair, because you don't want to breed brother and sister rabbits. That was something I should have mentioned with the breeding. It's okay with rabbits. It's okay to breed
Mhm.
uh, relatives, just not the immediate brothers and sisters of the litter.
Okay.
So once the doe has a litter, and let's say you want to retire that doe because you've had her for 2 years. 2 years is the ideal time to retire your doe. So let's say you've had her for 2 years, and now you're getting ready to raise up another doe. So you kept one of her does from, let's say, the last litter, and now you're raising that doe up to breed. That doe can breed with the buck, but you can't breed any brothers and sisters from any immediate litter. So as long as you're not breeding brothers and sisters, you're okay. But I only paid $25, and I got 2 rabbits for $25.
And then,
Now,
uh-huh.
the going rate for a one rabbit is usually anywhere from, 25 to $50, and could be more depending on the breed, because some people have show rabbits and they breed them, for show. So they have like those little cute dwarf varieties that are like $100 each, or like Flemish giants, which are, they're pretty up in price as well. But
Right.
I only paid $25 for mine.
And what about for your setup of your hutch? Well, you
Most
said
of
you
that,
did with the crib.
yeah,
So
most of that was free.
mhm.
The only thing I bought was the wire and screws. I
And
think
then
that
you
was
said it
probably
only
it.
cost it only costs about $10 too for the fee. So people can get started if they are, as crafty as you are, or, able to repurpose something, they can start, a little bit, would you say about $150?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. And that's all they would need. Oh, and
Probably less than a
the
hundred
bed,
dollars.
of
Less
course.
than $100, I would say. You could start. You can get your rabbits for less than $100 if you wanted to do. If you wanted to do breeding, if you're interested in like a breeding setup, you want to do 3 rabbits. You want to do 2 does and 1 buck.
Okay.
Your buck can breed once a day. Okay, so in actuality, you can have 1 buck for every 30 does, because you can breed him
Every day.
once
Yeah.
a day to each doe if you wanted to. Now,
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend that, but you know, it's that's how it is. That's how it is. You can breed them once a day. So if you wanted to take turns with does, like this month I'm going to breed this doe, and then next month I'm going to breed that doe, something like that. So that you have 2 different does and 1 buck, and then you always have 2 different litters, and those litters won't be related because they're from 2 different does.
And did you say there were certain types of feeders that you have to have for them?
Well, they will chew anything. So if you want to, whatever feeder you do have for them, usually I have the little plastic ones right now, but it's a really thick plastic. And then the doe has a galvanized feeder, the kind that hangs on the cage.
Have you
And those
seen
are just things that
have you seen the
hang.
chicken feeders? Are they similar to the chicken feeders? Okay.
Yeah,
Something I
very.
want to mention about that, I was given before I had chickens, we asked someone here that we knew had chickens, and they recommended to get the galvanized steel because they said that it helps reduce, I guess maybe with the rodents, they said um, that it attracts them less. So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but we did decide to get the galvanized steel as well. And with the
Yeah,
chicks, the only thing we have to do, because they're so small and they get in the water and things like that, you have to make sure if you don't use one of the screw-on ones that you can buy, if you do decide to use a bowl or something, it has to be shallow so they can't drown in it.
yeah,
So that's something that's just really important for the chickens on that one.
yeah. I use bowls to give my rabbits their water because when I got them, they were not bottle trained. Like, they got the bottles that hang inside the cage with the little spout on them,
Hmm.
similar to like a nipple, like how chickens
Right.
have, where they can peck at it and the water will come out. It's the same thing with a rabbit waterer. They can go up to it and like lick it, and the water will come out. But I wasn't able to train them onto the bottles. I didn't really try very hard either because I knew that in the winter I was going to have to give them a bowl anyway, because those waterers will freeze. The nipples freeze in the winter, and there's no point in using them. So I didn't want to have to go back and forth between the two. So I just left them on a bowl. So they've always had a bowl of water.
Mhm. So, and you said that you don't have to have the bedding. Is it preferred not to have any bedding because they don't like the heat? Because yeah, that's like the reason why you use it with the chickens, especially with the chicks. It helps them to keep the body heat, and since they don't have the natural chicken sitting
Right.
on them, keeping them warm. So it's better not to have that. Okay. Let's see. And for our coop that we got, I would say whenever you're getting a coop, they always say it's geared for this amount of chickens. But I always feel like be a little bit more generous. Sometimes they're a little bit cramped for what they say that you can have. Like the one that we have, it has 3 nesting boxes. They said it's for 5 or 6 to 8 chickens. I don't think 8 chickens would fit comfortably. And when reading the reviews, that's what everyone says. So,
Yeah,
um,
you don't
just
want birds on top of each other and then,
right,
pooping on each other and picking on each other. Because I've
right.
heard that if chickens don't have enough space, they'll start
Yeah,
picking
they
on
will
each
do
other.
that. Yeah, and that's why in the factories, where they have the hens and cages for the eggs, they take the beaks off because they will start to peck at um, the other ones that are next to them,
Right.
or even themselves. So you have to be careful with that. Yeah. And I find you want to have the right amount of nesting boxes, but I find that they always seem to use the same nesting box to lay their eggs. But
I
that's
see
another thing.
that.
You want to make sure you have enough. Yeah.
I
And
see that on a lot of channels.
yeah, and now mine, they actually don't even want to go into the nesting box and do it right outside in the corner. So once one chicken does something, all the chickens are going to do something. So yeah, but
Oh,
sometimes,
I wanted to ask you something. What is it? What does it mean? What does it mean when people refer to the pecking order?
oh, it's just like, how you said that the rabbits are territorial. It's the same thing. It's like this is they say like the lioness is at the top of the pecking is would be at the top of the food chain. So it's just like the one that's more in charge, the ones that are more dominant. So that's usually the problem with the roosters. They try to fight in competition to be at the top of the pecking order. But that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
it's like the alpha.
yeah, the alpha. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And even just with the females, they still there's ones that's more dominant than the other. So,
Okay.
hmm
I'm the leader and I'm in charge, and everyone get behind me.
right. And some chickens are, and that's another thing. If you're trying to add chickens in later, there's some that are more territorial, like the ones that we have. They're more territorial. But usually you want to have them in a separate spot, let them see each other and get used to each other. But sometimes you'll have some that are more stubborn, like the one that we had. They did not want to get accustomed to the chicks, no matter what. Some of that one was the one at the top of the pecking order, and so
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, but it always depends. They have different personalities, believe it or not.
Have you heard any good things about the what is it called? Wyandotte? Wyandotte?
No,
Wyandotte.
I don't think I've heard. No, I don't think I've heard of that
It's
chicken.
Wyandotte. Wyandotte or Wyandotte. Um,
No, I don't think so. I'm the leader. I say where we go.
right.
Anybody that does have chickens, if you've heard of that variety of chicken, I actually want to mention earlier that there is a type of chicken that are silkies that have it would be they have more feathers, and so they get hotter, I would say, more, I guess, comparable to when you were talking about your rabbits. Which is why I asked you if there's any that have a little less fur or anything like that.
Well, rabbits also go through a molt.
I've never. Oh yes, yes. At about 18 months, they start shedding their feathers. They stop with their egg production, and then they're gonna just basically get more feathers. They're gonna look more vibrant and everything like that. So yeah, that does happen, and it does usually take about 20 to 24 weeks to lay the first eggs. And the first week or so that they do, it's going to be smaller eggs. It's going to be more sparse. It's not going to be as frequent as it will later too. So those are the different periods in chicken raising. So there will be some breaks, and which is why you want to kind of keep this in mind and always have a new flock, as well. And also, like you said, after 2 years, you need a new doe. You said for the rabbits, it's the same for the chickens. After 2 years, you want to get a fresh batch. So usually, for after 2 years, the chickens would be food. Mhm.
I was gonna ask you, yeah, do you butcher them after that, or do you just like let them just?
So we
You're
it's
a vet. You can just exist, even though you're not laying anymore.
yeah. So we have chickens that are just for eggs. So they're really skinny. You wouldn't really even enjoy them. And so for them, I guess since we're going to have like 13 of them now, we probably will get rid of some of them just because it's such a big number of them. But you have, the choice. Usually they wouldn't be good to, like I do whole chickens. They wouldn't be good to have a whole chicken. You probably would have it like in a stew or something like that. Once if you wanted them for meat, you would do it earlier, like how you talked about the rabbits. You do it at a prime time, and so yeah, they wouldn't last. So after 2 years, you're not looking for your chicken dinner at that point usually. Oh, hello from Indiana, suburban
Hello, Suburban Homestead.
outfitters. Oh, you did see the comment. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. Do you have any chickens or rabbits? And does anybody have any questions?
I heard that the Wyandotte, or I don't even know how to say it. I don't know if it's Wyandotte or Wyandotte.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that that was a really cold hardy chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at them in the Murray McMurray catalog, and they're so pretty.
What
They
color?
are, what's that? They
What
have
color?
different. They have three or four different colors that they have.
Mhm. They're brown.
There's a Colombian one. They're like
Uh-huh.
black and white, or silver laced,
Okay.
or blue laced, or there's a like a red and gold one. They're really really pretty birds, but they're supposed to be really cold hardy, and they don't mind the. It is dot. Okay. So Y and dot. Yeah, that was when or if I do decide that I'm going to go ahead on the chicken endeavor,
Hmm.
that is probably the breed that I'm going to go with.
What
And
are they? Are they dual purpose or are they for eggs?
yeah, I think they're a dual purpose.
Okay.
They're pretty big. Um, and they're just so pretty. They're really just pretty. And I have not been able to come to the terms of being able to butcher an animal just yet.
Mhm.
So if I did get chickens, it would just be for the eggs.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
definitely want them to be beautiful birds because I have to look at them all the
Right. That's one thing. There are some. Have you ever heard of Easter eggers?
time.
Easter egg layers. So that's something that I would think would be cool. And the type I was telling you about before, I don't remember their name, that lay like miniature eggs. I think that
Okay.
that's something cool too, just to have a variety of eggs every day. I think it makes it more interesting. And speaking about those eggs, the brand or the breed that we have, they sometimes lay eggs that have double yolks, and I think that's something that's really cool. You don't really see that often when you're buying eggs, but that happens all the time too. And it's just like it's a different experience when you have your own eggs. I have raised and
Raised
bred
and bred.
Hawaiian cocks, good birds, but mostly egg birds.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
probably why I chose them because I would be just mainly interested in the eggs. I would not be interested in butchering a chicken.
mhm,
Just like I'm not interested in butchering my rabbits.
mhm, yeah.
I can't.
Hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely understand it. Uh-huh.
I can't.
What was the channel? There's a channel that was just talking about. I don't know if you're subscribed to her, but she was talking about it's hard for her when she was butchering her chickens. She's recently a widow.
Yeah,
Um,
my Alabama farm life.
yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Kathleen Pate.
Kathleen. Okay, yes. So yeah, so she was talking about it recently, and
Yeah,
it's definitely something that's not, for everybody, and it can be hard.
yeah.
Um,
She had to do her roosters.
Yeah, yeah. Because she said she had, I think she said she had three or
Yeah,
so that she kept, and maybe two that she butchered. Yeah,
chickens and rabbits and turkey in the past. I've heard turkeys are really fun to have.
I've
But
heard that turkeys are more like with ducks that they can be more messy. But I think turkeys
they
are
will
pretty
get
cool
out.
too. Hmm.
Turkeys will get out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta have like a really good enclosure for turkeys. I
Yeah,
think.
because turkeys are, yeah, they're much bigger. Like you said, even with the rabbits, with the teeth, that's something you have to consider. And probably with their size, turkeys are bigger than me. Now, I wonder, I have a question. I don't know, how friendly are they? I'm not from, I don't know if I would ever want to approach a turkey. I'm not sure how friendly they are. But,
I
the
think
chicken.
they're pretty friendly. I don't know. I know that Mulberry Branch Farm has turkeys on her channel,
Hmm.
and they're really pretty. They're so like, wow, you know what I mean? With their big feathers and like, you know what I mean? It's like something that you just only see on the magazine or in a picture. That's really fascinating for
Yeah,
me.
Gigi is so funny. She was saying don't. Oh no, she said Don. I think she was telling me don't approach a turkey. I
I
butchered
also
that.
had to build a bigger killing.
Yes, yeah, I saw actually the thumbnail. You could see the turkey. I saw it. Yeah.
Just butchered rabbit yesterday. It's on my channel.
Did you?
Okay, I will have to check that out.
Yeah. Did you grow up eating rabbits or raising your family raising rabbits? I think also the way you grew up is a lot of times people are more comfortable because that's what
Right.
saw and everything like that. Like my husband, we did butcher our chickens before, one of our chickens before, and like I said, they're really scrawny, the egg layer, so it's not really worth it.
Right.
But something that he had experience with as a child, so his experience, it'll be easier for him.
Yeah, because he's used to it. He's been exposed to that already.
I missed in the garden again.
Oh, hello. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Turkeys are, oh, I also read that one. Turkeys are bigger than me. We put up net for our turkey. Also had to build a bigger killing cone. Oh, for the turkey.
Oh, they're
Okay.
big. They're big birds.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. She said, yeah, don't too. I wouldn't. We love rabbits.
It's
It's really
really
expensive
expensive
to
to
buy.
buy. Yeah, that's what I've heard, that the rabbit meat is really expensive.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say buying chickens. I didn't talk about buying the chickens. They're not very expensive. They usually cost about 350, but if you go during chick days, they're a little bit cheaper. But you're looking at probably an average about $3 a chick, so it's not a bad price at all. Now, I do know that they have minimums though. I think you have to buy a minimum of 4 or 5. What's so funny?
Did you see that? My
No.
mom used me for cheap child labor. I plucked the feathers. I saw it as Sunday dinner.
Yeah, that's funny. That's how my grandparents grew up. They said that because they have so many siblings, they said that the parents said, "We have all this land. We need hands," and so that's what it was for child
Everyone's
labor.
got to pitch in. Everyone's got to
Right.
do their part.
Right. So yeah, and so yeah, that's the I would say the part that people don't really like is the defeathering. But they have chicken pluckers, and I was looking at some. They're about like
They're
$350.
expensive, right?
Yeah, they're an investment. So you have to really
Yeah,
factor in
you got to be willing, ready, and willing to be able to be butchering a lot of chickens.
right, because chicken is pretty cheap to buy, but I guess if you're looking at organic and everything, it costs more. Now the eggs I feel are really high priced too. So I was just looking for some, and they sell it at the farmers market, but
Where
it's like
are you located, Donnie? Where are you located at?
there's another channel. I can't remember her name, but she was just showing she had some rabbits that she sold at the farmers market with some of her produce. I don't remember. I just seen. I don't have a good memory, but I just saw her channel too. If I can think of it. But
Oh,
yeah,
Pacific
Donnie.
Northwest. Okay, you're up there in Washington.
Mhm. Are there any places? Well, there's a channel that I have. That's a. I don't know if it's not called a hatchery. Do you know what it's called? The people that when you breed the rabbits, what is it called?
A rabbitry.
Rabbitry. Yeah. Well, I should have known that. But yeah, are you able to buy some online too? Do you know if you
Um,
sell
I've never
rabbit?
tried. I've never looked. I don't know. I've never looked online for rabbits.
Okay, she said she was in Washington. Okay. Yeah, because for the chicks you can buy for quail, you can buy the eggs. You can buy the eggs, you can buy the hatchlings as well. And of course it's cheaper depending on if you buy them the eggs and hatch them out. Sorry, I mean to eat.
So she was at the park one day and a chicken was just walking around. That's funny.
Yeah, I
Somebody,
remember Homesteader Chick when she was doing her video, she would always have a rooster that was walking around too. And I've seen that if you go just out more into the country, because I live in the suburbs. If you go out to the country, there's a lot of people that have their chickens just roaming around. And that's what I used to do, but it's just there's so many predators.
too many predators. Yeah.
Oh, she's saying it's expensive to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, she finds them at the farmer's market. Try Craigslist for rabbits also. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I went into a few Facebook pages, Facebook groups, I should say, that were local in my area that
Hmm.
concentrated on rabbits. So look in some different Facebook groups. Just search in rabbits in your Facebook search bar and see what comes up, and see if there's any rabbit breeders in your area that are local to you, because they might not be like really heavily advertising, but you might have some rabbit breeders right near you and you just don't know it.
So would you recommend that anyone go to like a pet store and get a rabbit?
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't recommend going to the pet store. Those rabbits are probably more domesticated than anything,
Hmm.
and unless you plan on keeping it indoors and you only want the manure, then that's fine. But those rabbits have been kept indoors and they've been kept as pets. So if you're planning on taking an indoor rabbit and putting it outside, I'm not sure how well that rabbit is going to adapt to that environment, depending on how old it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Local resources are best. Build community, make friends. Yeah.
And
I,
then your rabbit will be accustomed to your climate as well, especially because you're getting it locally.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. I never would have thought that so many people around here actually kept chickens until actually, looking into it and having some ourselves. So,
And
yeah,
rabbits are quiet. You don't hear rabbits. You don't know they're there. They
right.
don't make noises. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't make any noise.
Right.
So,
So places that have like, HOAs or rules where you can't have chickens or poultry or anything like that, you can probably get away with having rabbits for
yeah,
that reason.
you can definitely get away with having rabbits, especially if you keep them indoors or if you have like a patio or a deck or a balcony that you can put a hutch on, then or a cage or a stacking cage. As long as you can keep them out of the elements, you don't want them to get and you don't want them in the wind or in the sun or in the rain. They need to make sure they stay dry. Um, you don't bathe your rabbit; they bathe themselves. But
And how do they do that with licking or what do they do?
yeah, yeah, like a cat,
Because
much. Yep.
the chickens actually do dust bathe, and
Yeah.
so that's how they clean themselves. Okay.
Rabbits are like cats. They just constantly lick and clean themselves, and then they take their you know front paws and they wash their face and whatnot. Yeah. So they are pretty clean. They're really clean.
Do they have hairballs then?
Sometimes no, they don't have hairballs. No, it'll come out in their manure sometimes.
Okay. Okay.
especially
So
if they're in especially if they're in like a time where they're shedding a lot. They shed a lot anyways, so you got to make sure that you're not allergic and that nobody in your house is allergic because they
mhm,
shed a lot. That's why it's
okay.
best to really just keep them outside, but especially when they're going through the molting stage, you'll see like hair in their
Oh,
manure.
they go through molting as well.
Yes, they
Okay.
do.
And you said their claws. Is there any other upkeep that you have to do, like grooming wise or anything like that for the rabbits?
You just want to make sure you check their ears, their eyes, their teeth. Make sure that all of their um, avenues are clear and clean. Make sure they don't have any kind of, if you see any signs of them itching a lot, make sure that you know, check for mites and treat them for mites. You can give them a little bit of a dewormer sometimes. It
Mhm.
doesn't hurt, even though I just use the apple cider vinegar. But apple cider vinegar in the water just to keep their tracks healthy, keep their nails clipped. Make sure you stay on their teeth. Make sure their teeth um, are good. If you have the appropriate type of wire and you have things for them to step on or lay on, then they can get off of the wire to keep their feet healthy.
Mhm.
You can't just have any type of wire. Like I mentioned before, you can't just have any type of wire in their cage because that's not going to cut it. Otherwise, you'll have sores on their feet. Yes, olive oil and tea tree are the best things to use for the mites, and that'll be, you'll see like mites in their ears and stuff
Oh,
if they're, yeah, they're itching a lot or whatever. So and sometimes I had a little bit of a scare a couple weeks ago. A Penelope had like a white thing in her eye, and I thought it was a piece of a pine shaving because I was using a little bit of pine shavings over the winter to add
yeah.
to their bedding. And I thought it was a pine shaving in her eye, and I looked close and I was like, that's not a pine shaving. It looked like almost transparent, like it was a piece of skin, but it was like right in the corner of her eye. And I was like, what is that? And you know, I was doing this and I couldn't get it. And I didn't want to poke her in the eye.
Mhm.
So I contacted Kate at Wonderland Acres and I asked her, you know, about it or whatever, because I stay in contact with her about the rabbits. And she said, you know, does it look like it's inside her eye or does it look like you can get it out? I was like, well, it looks like I can grab it. If I tried, I could grab it.
Mhm.
I said, okay, well, then it's probably not a parasite because sometimes there will be parasites in their eye.
Mhm.
But it wasn't a parasite. And then she said, well, just try like a hot, you know, like a warm compress and see if you can like flush it out or whatever.
Mhm.
So I went, you know, I got busy. And then the next morning I was going to get ready to go out and do it. And it was gone. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh,
Well,
okay.
that's good.
I guess she got it out herself.
Right.
But I had a little bit of a scare because I was like, oh my gosh, what is that in her eye? You know? And then when she mentioned parasite, I was like, oh my gosh, no, not a
Right.
parasite. There was nothing. It came out by itself, or she got it out. It was probably like a piece of hair or something that had got in her eye, and so. But I had a little bit of a scare, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, I want to answer the question. Do you clip your chicken's wings? I don't. No, I don't. And my chickens actually, this flock has never actually been out. We used to free range them all the time, but we actually tried because I wanted them to do some of the weeding and digging up some of the dirt, the clay soil that we have. But they're very much scared. It takes them a while to really warm up the type that we have because they when we were looking up the information on them, it says that they are good for confinement. And so I'll leave the door open. They usually don't even try to get out. They might stick their beak out to try to eat something, like eat some grass or something, but they don't try to get out. And they're actually kind of like frightened and want to get back in. So we tried that. But no, we don't. I guess if you do free range them more, that might be a concern. But when during that time, I didn't. And I guess it's just because we don't have ones that are flighty, because some birds are more flighty.
Yeah.
And I wrote down because I wanted to remember to mention that when I was talking about some of the chicken food, some of the things that you can add the chicken grit because like when they're naturally free ranging, they'll get little rocks and stuff, and that helps to clean them out. But when you have them confined, they don't really have that. So you can add some chick grit, it's called, to the feed, and you can also add like oyster shell, or some people just crush up the um, eggshells to add the calcium back to give them a stronger egg as well. So I wanted to mention those things, and those are really cheap. You don't need much. I think oyster shells is like 1 pound of it to 5 pounds of feed. So usually I get a 5 pound bag, and then we just added it to like 100 pounds of feed. So it goes a long way. And so the chick grit is not something that you have to have, but if they're not free ranging, it's something that you might want to consider.
It helps them digest, right?
Yes,
Because
yes, with their digestion.
they
Yes,
don't have like a weird,
help them digest. Yeah.
yeah. Do you ever have any issues with chickens eating eggs?
No, no, I haven't had that issue. Sometimes we've even, have not gotten the eggs, and it'll just be double the eggs. I saw Art of Creation did a video on the eating the eggs. I think it usually happens like if they're, like how they say birds might attack your berries or something if they don't have the water or something. So maybe like during the hotter months, if they're not getting enough water, whatever, or they're hungry, they might just go after an egg, or it can just be boredom. But yeah, it is a hard thing to break. But no, I haven't had that issue.
Oh, well, that's good.
Hmm.
I heard that was really hard to figure out which one is doing it.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Even with finding out which ones are the best layers, you have to go egg layers. You have to basically look at, there's certain areas you can look at to see, but you might not know unless you catch them in the act of who laid what as well. And with the eggs also, to get them to lay for the first times, or to get them to lay in the right spot, you can have those little flat fake plastic eggs.
I saw that.
Yeah. And
That's
so like I said, if a chicken, just get one chicken to do anything and the rest will follow. So if they think one lay the egg here, they think, oh, I want to lay an egg here. They're
that's
very much
is that why they don't want to use the same nesting box?
probably, yeah, I don't know, they're just followers. They just
Right,
love
because
to.
you can have like five nesting boxes and they all want to huddle up in one nesting box.
Right, but our chickens, they're very much they're always very super attached to each other. But sometimes when they're chicks, you'll sleep on top of each other, like stacked up even. They just love, and that's why you want to make sure you have at least three, because they just love being around other chickens. Homesteading will become more popular as economies shift. Meat will become more expensive soon.
It already has.
Yeah.
It already has. There has been such a strong homesteading shit movement to for people to start homesteading and for like new gardeners. There's so many people that are gardening for the first time this year. There's so many people that are doing things for the first time this year because of, the time that we're living in.
Yeah, and I saw, when the COVID hit, the meat prices really I can't speak, soared. I remember because I had just bought some meat that I canned. I was buying beef, and it went up $1 just like that. And then the meat was so hard to find too. So yeah, and that's why I want to keep that option open. Yeah, and especially if you're trying to buy organic meat, it can be really expensive. And if you buy in the organic eggs, it could be more expensive too. And so
And
you,
they're limiting a lot of things. Like
yes, yes,
if you have a big family to feed, and it was kind of like contradicting, or kind of like I can't think of the phrase I'm trying to say, but it was kind of like defeating the cause. Like, okay, they wanted us to stay home and
hmm,
not go out as much, but yet everything was limited. So it's like, okay, but I have a big family to
right,
feed, and if I'm limited to what I can buy, then that means I have to go out more frequently and buy the
right,
same thing, you know what I mean, every other day or every day, because I can't buy what I need for the week
right,
all in one shopping trip, because I have a big family and I need more than 4 cans of corn, or I need more than
right,
2 loaves of bread, or you know what I mean? So
right,
I'm forced to buy just that little bit of, I'm limited. Then I have to come out more often. Then I have to shop more often. Then I'm
right,
out more often. But it's like defeating the
right,
whole, you know what I mean? You want me to stay home, but I can't buy what I need for the week.
right. Because even here, even our produce, like if anything goes on sale, like raspberries and stuff, they were limiting two, and I was just like, it's I've
I
never
can eat two
seen
raspberries
produce.
by myself.
Right. So yeah, it definitely, all the limits and all of it, it just really pays to be more self-reliant in any way that you can. And
Yeah.
like you said, it really it makes it impossible for those who make a habit of just buying extra, so they don't have to come back. The people that, only do grocery shopping, limited amount of times, it does make it possible. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, and taking away seeds in some areas. Yes. So
I
families
didn't know
couldn't
taking
grow
away
their own.
seeds.
Yeah, I've heard that some states did take away seeds, or like took them from
What?
stores and stuff. Yes, it got really crazy too. That's
Oh
why,
no, I did not know that.
right? Yeah.
Oh, that was another thing. I was able to get two canners last season. At the end of last season, I was able to get two used canners for $50.
Oh, that's a really good deal. Where did you get your canners?
Somebody was selling it on,
Okay.
I think it was Facebook Marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
and I jumped on it, and I was able to get. They were selling both of them, and I bought both of them.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of times even people were selling their used canners at the price of like a brand new one. So the
Right.
prices, even now, people are still selling the lids and stuff at astronomical prices.
Yeah, I ordered some reusable lids, so I'm still waiting for them to get here. But I'm gonna try those out and see how
Mhm.
those work.
Yeah, because they say that they can use them 10 times. So I think that that's a, or more, so that's a really good investment. I might try it again because it was kind of pricey. And when I did try
It
to get it,
wasn't too bad. I ordered from a company called Harvest Guard,
hmm,
and I think I don't remember how many lids came in it, but it was about $30.
hmm,
And I think you get 24 lids, 24 reusable lids for
hmm,
$30.
hmm,
So I figured that's like two cases, you know what I mean?
right,
And at any given time, I can go through like one case of something, and then I can use those jars again, you know what I mean? I
right.
just rotate that.
But if you compare reusable lids to the disposable, I want to say, even though they say you can use those again, even though it's not recommended, the price when I was purchasing it, now it's a little different, but it was like 10 to maybe 20 cents a lid. And we're
Yeah,
usually more than $1 per. And so I priced it out and I said, okay, well, if I do use it at least 8 times, I think it was, then it's a good deal. Then I at least paid, got my money back. Um, so yeah.
thank
Oh, he
you.
says,
Thank
any thought?
you.
What'd you say?
Gardening Cocktails with Joy. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, hey, Joy. And Gigi says she's teaching her kids to can. That's a really good thing.
That's
I
really
wanted
good.
to answer your question about the canning video. What have you canned again? Apple butter, right? And
I've done apple butter, and I think I've done sweet potatoes. I've done a couple things, apple jelly. Um, I don't know if I did a video on the apple jelly, but I did the apple butter, and I
yeah,
used Art of Creation's recipe for the apple butter, and it
okay.
was amazing. I had so many good compliments on the apple butter that I made, and it was delicious. And then the sweet potatoes I did because I don't like sweet potatoes very much, but I will eat them as long as they're not drowned in like syrup and sugar.
Right, right.
So I did mine just plain sweet potatoes in, the water with a little bit of salt, and I just did them like that,
Mm-hmm,
no sugar at all. So they came out really good.
mm-hmm.
But I got my canners at the end of last season, so I didn't have anything in my garden really
Right.
left
At that time to can.
that I could can because I had already either used it up because I didn't want it to go to waste, or I put it in the freezer.
Right.
Um, so this year, I have that as a goal in mind to grow enough to be able to can, like green beans and diced tomatoes and things like that.
Yeah. I don't have a video on it, but I can. Cucumbers was the first thing that I can from my garden, and I did a bunch of those because we got a bunch of them. But for videos, I have a lot of canning videos. Let's see. I did some tomatoes. I did like crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, spaghetti sauce. I did the green beans from my garden. Sweet potatoes. I did the sweet potatoes too. Just how you said you did it with water. I did beans. I did a lot of things, but I can't think of them right now. But also Gigi also cans in here too. Let's see. I just bought a pressure canner and a water bath canner.
Good for you.
I have can. Oh yeah, right. She has canning videos. I found canning supplies
Amish
at
stores,
Amish stores.
yes.
I don't live near any Amish stores. Do you?
I don't. I think the closest Amish store to me is probably about 45 minutes. But if I wanted to make the trip, I could.
Yeah, I should have took advantage more, but I was younger when I lived up north in New York. It's much easier to find them there.
The local, I have a lot of local farmers markets, like right on the, um, right near me, and they sell a lot of Amish products in there. They're really expensive. Like if you buy a small, and it's probably a 16 ounce, probably about the size of this jar here,
Uh-huh.
like apple jelly or apple, any kind of flavored jelly or whatever. It's like $7 for a small little. Hello, everyday life of OCD ish chick.
Yeah, hey Nikki.
Thanks for coming in,
Yeah,
Nikki.
I saw she went live yesterday. I was able to catch a little bit of it.
Um, Gigi, you said you don't like sweet potatoes, but you like growing them. I did not like sweet potatoes when I was growing up, and I never liked them. But I realize now that I'm older that I didn't like them because they were always drowned in sugar and always really sweet, and I don't like that. So I decided to try a recipe, and I chopped them up, diced them up into like really small cubes, and I made them with like olive oil and garlic and parmesan, and they were amazing. And I was like, wow, okay. So just because it's a sweet potato doesn't mean it has to be sweet. I can
Right.
make it savory, and I really enjoyed it that way. So
Yeah.
and like sweet potato hash is really good. So I've learned how to enjoy them a little bit more now.
Well, I like sweet potatoes. I like them. I like them sweet, but I do like them savory too.
Yeah, I like to make them savory.
I don't live near any. I'm really sad about it. Yeah, but we're about to. Do you have any more questions, anybody, or anything you want to mention about rabbits before we leave? Anything that we might have left out?
Um, no, I think we covered everything. I don't think we left anything out. I was just looking over some of my notes to see. Nope. So it looks like I've covered everything that I made a note of. So
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably think of something once we get off. And Growing with Donnie said there's so many different kinds of sweet potatoes too. The dark red skin with white flesh are a little less sweet. I haven't tried it.
purple ones too. Has anyone grown those purple ones? I
I've
know.
grown some in the store, but I haven't.
I think Diva Jones was growing those, wasn't she? Those purple sweet potatoes.
I'm not sure. But yeah, they're really nutritious. So I would definitely like to try some of them. But I saw some in the store, but they didn't look pretty good, so I didn't get any.
I started my sweet potato slips. I'm gonna try to grow them this year. I've never grown them
Hmm.
because I didn't like them. So
Right.
this year, since I've got the canners now, and I'll be able to store them better, I'm gonna go ahead and try to grow some. So I've started a sweet potato in a jar, like the
Mhm.
conventional way. But then I also put a couple sweet potatoes in some dirt, and I'm gonna see, what I can get out of those, and see if I can get
Yeah.
some slips.
Yeah. Well, you have to let us know which one comes out better for you too. Because I remember Tina, I think she put it, did she just put them in water? I've seen people just put it in water too. But it seems like it's pretty, fail proof. You can kind of get it a lot of different ways.
I think from the different channels that I've seen, putting it in the dirt, they sprout quicker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know yet because I started the sweet potato in the jar, and then like a week later, I put two more in some dirt.
Right.
Have a
Okay.
great day, ETC
Yes.
style.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. So since there's no more
Yes,
questions, huh?
thank you for joining us.
Who'd you say? Did I miss somebody?
No, I said yes. Thank you for joining
Oh
us.
yes. Thank you for joining us. And I hope we're able to answer some of you guys' questions and give you guys some information and encourage you all to get some chickens or some rabbits. And I learned so much from you today too about the rabbits. And so
Yeah.
I really think I want to try having some. And
Well,
thank you, Donnie, for joining. And thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, everybody who joined. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
bye, guys.